Hello everyone and welcome to another roster review. I know it's been a while. I've been mostly just doing Twitch stream, but I have a friend who was asking for a roster review and I got some stuff coming up in the works. So let's see if we can start doing this again regularly. So just to give you some background, this is Wiz Palifa. He's just over 10 million TCP. So he said that right now his alliance is doing Doom 1 and they're hoping to get into Doom 2.0. He is a war captain but hates war. I think that's how life works. And so right now, he's taken the opportunity to work on some of his war teams while the rest of his alliance catches up, is what he said. So no war MVP. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And he's made it down to 25 in the arena rank and currently holding 66. So not bad, not bad. P2. And it looks like he has Strange already. So I'm guessing I wouldn't say he's a whale. It seems like he invests money when he likes the team. So let's get started. Okay, so his two favorited are part of the new team that just came out. This little purple cape is kind of cute. Okay, well 4 red. I mean 3, but everyone is very disappointed with her kit, so there's not a big harm there. But just like judging at these first few rows here, I mean this is pretty spot on. This is what I would expect of any player trying to get into endgame content. I hope that was a 7 red pull and that you didn't promote a character to 7 red that you hadn't gotten all the way to yet. I see your 7 red Kestrel too. I mean, you get good use out of her. So, I mean, I think that kind of goes without saying that if you don't have your character at 7 yellow, don't put them at 7 red. The exception would be if you're really close to the end and you see them in the story, you don't want to wait. But really, you don't know what the meta is going to change. You don't know when she's going to become farmable, and unless you're willing to buy her packs, I mean, you already got her to 6, but unless you're willing to buy all her packs to get her to 7, you're just not going to see the value of it, and you could probably use it somewhere else. So that's just something to keep in mind. Your Omega Red is delicious. Okay, so yeah, I definitely see your raid teams here, and I mean, this is a bit of an older meta, but I'm sure you built them up before. But yeah, I can definitely see that your priority is raids, and then you got Morbius sticking his head up. As I mentioned earlier, he said that he wants to work on some other war teams while he's waiting. So I mean, there you go. That's not bad. I heard that he needs it to be at least gear 14 to get any proper use. Alright, Ghost. This is where I'm starting to see characters that you had built up earlier that you kind of abandoned. Probably for meta reasons, like Hell is no longer meta, Ghost is no longer meta. Okay, well that's kind of interesting. I can see you built up your Jubilee and your Bishop. When you get to the later levels of Doom, you're going to need to max these out. For the longest time, even on Doom 2.1, I was running a really small Axeman, like 500 something, K600K, I forget. It was really small. It was like ridiculously thin, and I was still managing to pull stuff off. And so I can appreciate that you're withholding these resources. A lot of people would just tell you max them out right now, but you don't know by the time you get to that point, maybe there'll be a new team. And what I tell players, if your team is doing what you need them to do, you don't need to upgrade them anymore. Just leave them be. So carrying on here. With that said, once you start getting into skill nodes, you're going to need your Shang-Chi built up a little bit more. G13 doesn't really bring much to the table. I mean, it's kind of a shame. I see you brought up your Nick Fury for legendary unlocks, but it's kind of like disrespectful to him that you got him at the same level. Okay, you got Uncle and Grandpa here. Alright, you're gonna have to put more into them too for unlocks as well. Invisible Woman now for the... Kind of torn about that. I don't know what to tell you with that. My Noah Harris characters, I took to G14. I don't think I'm gonna G15 them. That's just too rich for my blood. The earlier you do it, the better resources you get. It's kind of a shame to see Black Bolt so small, but I can't really chastise you for this. Lady Deathstrike is good for tech teams. If you get to that point where you're starting to need a tech team, you can get some good use out of her. Oh, 7 red Magneto, and you barely built him up. Can't really fault you for that. Magneto has a lot of use. Now, here's the thing. With so many mutant teams coming in here, it would be really bad advice for me to tell you to work on your Brotherhood. But if you ever get the chance, like I use them in the war all the time. You can punch up like 200, 300k against symbiotes. You can use them against Pym. You can even use them more of a punch across, not really a punch up, but you can use them against web warriors. Like, they're really good for cleaning up teams or like taking the brunt with like a Magneto ult. So something to keep in mind. But yeah, I mean, I would much rather you work on, well, basically any other mutant team, to be honest. Just something to keep in mind, especially with that 7 red Magneto. Well, I mean, if you're not at any point in the game where you need Mystic teams, then I guess this makes sense that your Adam Warlock is so low, but like, I know you're working on your Dark Hunters, but like, I think that the Infinity Wallet is so your Dark Hunters team works against Heroes for Hire, and it works against Young Avengers. And the Infinity Wallet doesn't quite work against Young Avengers, but they can still work against Heroes for Hire. And overall, like, I think they're a better team than Dark Hunters. You could easily throw resources at them, and you get a good use out of them. In a way, they're like Black Order, where, I mean, Black Order is not meta anymore. I would be very foolish if I tried to convince you otherwise. But you still get good use of them as a team on war. There's lots of teams that they can counter. Not the newer meta, but they can still do a lot of work. And so, like, I'd really like to see you put some love into your Infinity Wallet. Especially this Adam Warlock. I mean, you got 6 stars on him. Gamora hits like a truck too. Okay, so I see your Sabretooth is level 65. He's 58k. And your Omega Red is level 80, 149k. There's a couple different schools of thought when it comes to Sabretooth and Omega Red. I saw a big thing on the Reddit where people were saying, I don't know why everyone tells you to try to balance them out. When you're using that team against Heroes for Hire, Misty Knight will use ability block on the character that has the highest health. And it's really easy to manipulate it to have Sabretooth being the highest. Now, looking at yours, who's 3 red, compared to your Omega Red, who's 6 red, I could see a very good case for not doing that. So the only thing I will say, I personally run a Sabretooth bigger than my Omega Red. And I have done 450k punch-ups against Heroes for Hire, like, I think I lost once in all the wars I've ever done. I've had Omega Red like since unlock. So if you don't have that, then basically what you want to do with the opening is you want to use your ability block on their Misty Knight, so she doesn't do it in turn. The problem is that you don't get to do as big of a punch up. So something to consider. With that said, I wouldn't tell you to start putting your promotion credits in here, so I can see why you did that. But for anybody watching, just keep that in mind. And then your Moondragon. I mean, you got her at 5 yellow and 5 red. 5 red, 5 red. I mean, I would really like to see some love into them. You don't have to max them out like the rest of us did. I get that they're kind of an older meta, but and see, here's another thing I want to point out. Like you got T'Challa here. I mean, this is a pretty respectable T'Challa, but like for me, I see this and I think like, man, you spent money on this. You used like real world resources, and then you didn't really do anything with him. So, I mean, like, I'm not ever going to presume to tell you how to spend your money, but, like, you know, you don't need to build up the whole Ravagers to get good use out of T'Challa. He actually works really well against, like, Doom, for example, right? With his special, he can take away energy, and then, yeah, he really basically nullifies Doom's abilities. So keep that in mind. You can throw him as a 5th on a lot of teams and get some good work out of them. And, with your Stitcher, I mean, you only have a 4 red, but Stitcher actually hits pretty hard, and he takes really little resources. So they're a pretty good pair to build up for sure. Okay, so even on the last page, you were starting to see it where we're at a point where these characters are either like Yo-Yo was meta once upon a time, no longer is. And then some of these are just war characters. You know, you got Blob here and Red Face, and then you have other characters like Iron Man that's kind of useless. You got War Defense characters, so like I can understand why these characters are kind of left behind. I want to say something about Shuri though. Shuri, since coming to the game, has found a way to be used in game modes, and it's actually pretty crazy if you think about it. Like for the longest time we were using her in raid teams, and then she kind of fell out of meta, and then she comes back later on with tech teams, and we put her on War Defense, and she's a really good plug and play character that you can throw her on basically anything. She opens up with a defense up on everybody and gives energy to everybody, so that, I mean, that's pretty handy. I personally use her every single day in the tech raids. I consider her essential. I try to drop her, and without the defense up, everybody gets tossed. So I mean, I guess you could work on your vision. I have some friends in my alliance that swear by it. I just personally can't see myself doing that. He's way too old of a meta. Alright, he used to be meta, that's why I said that. He's way too old to be considering something like that. So Shuri, you do get good use out of it. And in Dark Dimension, where there's legendary requirements, she's a pretty good one. She helps keep your guys alive a lot longer. With that said, would I say she's essential? No, but for tech, I say she is. Dark Dimension, you'd probably just take a little bit longer, but I don't... Any investment you put in her, like, I'm still getting use out of her, is what I'm trying to say. So bang for buck, I feel like you'll get a good investment out of her, so not a character to skip. With your 5 level so small, I can see why you didn't really want to build them up. Your Shadowlands aren't built up. You got a 5 red on White Tiger. You got a 5 red on Daredevil. Alright, it took me a while, but I found your Elektra. She's kind of small. I mean, that kind of sucks, but she doesn't need to be that big. And then I find your Moon Knight all the way at the end with your Night Nurse. Well, okay, so Night Nurse went from... Initially, she was meta. And then she was garbage for way too long. And then she got a rework and she was considered to be one of the better healers in the game. And now, I mean, I don't use her in skill. I only use her in war. It does pain me a bit to see that your Shadowlands aren't built up. They are a war-only team, and earlier you were just building raid, so I understand why. You have 3 Mystic on this team. You have White Tiger that's Mystic, you have Elektra, and you have Misty Knight, Moon Knight. And in the current meta in the game right now, there's way too many Mystic characters. I couldn't tell you to work on them. It just kind of sucks because, I mean, she hits like a truck. You don't really need to build up the whole team. The bigger your Night Nurse is, that can keep you alive. That's really important. And White Tiger to do damage. The rest of them don't really need to be built up. You can use them to punch up effectively on a lot of teams. And they just kind of, because of how fast they move and their ability to put Disrupt and Ability Block, they're still finding use on current meta. Just not the best. I'm not telling you take your 400k Shadowlands and punch up 300k and then you'll win, because you won't, right? But like, you used to be able to do that against some Marauders when they were meta. And I mean, people are still using them to punch down on Heroes for Hire or cleanups for Heroes for Hire. You know, they can take up a lot of those. Sometimes you get like a really big team, but it's not a very good one. Like a, I don't know, like a 700k Wave 1 Avengers. And you throw your Shadowlands at it, it'll punch up and it'll kick their butt. So right now, I wouldn't say to work on it. It just kind of sucks that, you know, you got these 5 red and just not really using her. But I can see where that's coming from. That's awesome that you have 6 red on him. I think that's really cool, but like, you know, he's just a defense team. Ah! You dare disrespect Capitan Marvel? Look at how they massacred my girl. Ah. Alright. I'm not gonna worry about that. Yeah, you could make a pretty sweet mercenary team. Like, that sucks. They're really old meta. I mean, if you had Doom, you could throw Doom on there and they actually do alright. But I wouldn't tell you to build them up right now. That's bad advice. Looks like you're not using skill military either. They require a lot of resources, so I don't blame you. You need to have at least a 5 red Punisher and like G15, 14 to get any real use out of them. Okay, so these are the kind of characters that I would expect to see here, except for Captain Marvel, of course, that I would expect to be down here. You don't really use these characters for anything. Right now, there's that rework going on to Marauders, but that's, again, just war defense, so I wouldn't be particularly worried about that. Alright, so I see Storm, Colossus, and Cyclops. Your Phoenix. Good, you built her up. So, I mean, you can get a pretty good... I have a 7 red Storm, and she hits so hard. I don't even have her G14, she's G13. And she hits really hard. I imagine your 6 red would be pretty close to that, too. Now, when I was looking ahead for a character, I came across this. So, I don't remember the unlock method for magic, so I'm not going to make assumptions to whether you spent money or you unlocked her naturally. Having a 4-star, 4 red on her, I mean, it's pretty decent. You could, with minimal resources, get these characters up to like even I'd say level 64. Some of these, because a lot of these characters require passives. Now, I don't know how you're doing for resources. If you're some players I've noticed have been hoarding T formats. Now, you mentioned, I'm only saying this because you were talking about war. You could get some really good use out of these characters without throwing everything in. Effectively, you'd have to get them all to like G14, 15, and then put a lot of, like, she needs basically all her T4. Same as Magic. He could use his passive at the very least. He needs like 2. Like, so I'm not gonna tell you to throw like 12 T4s into an old team. But I'm just saying because of these red stars, and it sucks about Cyclops, but she does so much damage and her stuns, like she does a lot of work. And then you got that Phoenix built up. You could be using this to take out smaller, like I use this against Young Avengers. I do punch acrosses. I'm working. I feel that once I get these characters to G14, I could probably start doing punch-ups. But that'll be another video for another day. When you pulled that 7 red Yondu, you were probably like swearing to yourself. Now he's really good. Let's take a look at your T'Challa. Yeah, 4 red and your Ravager. I mean, so your T'Challa isn't anything particularly big, but I mean, he is really good on his own. And then you have Yondu here at 7 red. I know he's Mystic, and I just told you not to go crazy on Mystic because of the current meta. But again, if you get these characters to like level 64, you know, gear probably 12, I'm sure you'll find use for them and you'll get good consistent wins with them. Like they do a lot of work and they're really fun to play. They really are. So I hope you keep that in mind. Okay, so again, these characters are either just old meta or they're like war only teams, so I can understand why they're back here. There's the magic we were talking about. Echo, well, you got really lucky there. You almost got her at 5, but she, outside of her war defense team, she really doesn't have any use. So overall, I didn't see any red flags here. I'm not gonna go over every single character's ISO that you put in, but like you didn't do a lot of the traps that some people do where they start half gearing their characters. So I can definitely appreciate that. I do notice you have a lot of G13s. If you think you're sitting on gold gear, chances are you're not. So I would caution you with that. Going from 11 to 12 is a 2.5% stat increase, and going from 12 to 13 is a 2.5% stat increase. So you can easily say, oh, well, Nico, that's a 5% stat increase. Yeah, but then you look at your 6 yellow, 3 red Corvus Glaive. Is he really getting a benefit from 5% stat increase? Like, probably not. Now, your yellow jacket, maybe, right? But where do you really need your yellow jacket? If Greek raids, there's one that you might get some use out of him, but like that's all I'm trying to say. Try not to. I don't take a character to gear tier 13 unless I'm ready to take them to 14, and I try not to take people to 14 unless I'm going to take them to 15, or it's really going to make a big difference for me. So that would be one thing that I would caution you for. It's really easy to just click and you think you're making a big difference, but you really aren't, which can hinder you later on if you find out that you're short on gear. And like I said, if you think that you have a lot, wait till you get some of these characters up and you go through a bunch and you'll be like, oh no, I don't have any. And then you're gonna have to start farming them up. Aside from that though, I'm guessing that you're taking some of these characters. Like I noticed that 55 is a number we're seeing a lot. 55, 55, 55, 55. I'm not too sure why you're doing, it looks like you're going by 5s. For Blitz at my level, because I play competitively in Blitz, I take every single character up to 60 that I'm going to use in Blitz. I would make exceptions with some of the minions that are like absolutely useless. It's just not really worth the resources. But like take like one a day, or one a day, one a week. Take one a week and take them up to 60, and then keep building up everyone else you're going to build up. It'll help you get a Blitz team going. Start with Captain Marvel and put more red stars in her. But yeah, I think overall this is a very good roster. You definitely prioritize building meta, and you seem to be using them effectively. I wish you luck in your goals doing raids. Let me know if you need any help with that. But to summarize, don't gear tier 13 every character that you have. Put some love into your Infinity Wallet. Consider Shadowlands and Brotherhood one day, but that day is not today. And then Yondu and T'Challa can do the Lord's work. But yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you had fun. I certainly did. So I've been streaming on Twitch Monday and Wednesday at 5:30 Pacific time until about 7:30 Pacific time, where I changed over to my friend Libertrolian's channel. We've been playing Monster Hunter Rise together. I also do Sundays. Sometimes I do like a chill stream where we just blitz and talk. But yeah, this is where you can find me consistently. So if you guys would like, if you would like a roster review, please let me know. I will put my Discord down below in the description. Feel free to join it. Send me a PM and we can get something going for you. I'd be more than happy to help. And if you disagree with me, or you agree with me, or just want to tell me that you love my new haircut, please leave a comment. It really helps me out and I appreciate the feedback. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we will catch you next time. Have a good night.